in. I shared insight into our inner seer. Now I want to explore our inner authority or our inner boss. It's the authority figure inside of us. So after we've actually tuned into our heart, which I believe the heart is the center stage of all things, and we actually have a stargate in the center of our heart. Cindy Dell calls it your 13th energetic center. I just look at it as a stargate. But after you've tuned into your heart and you've subscribed to your inner seer, the spiritual story inside of you, then you can sit at the table with your inner boss. And you're actually ready to commit to the decision with fierce authority. And I always think of Robert Downey Jr. when I think of the boss inside of us, because it wasn't until he himself committed to the decision of being drug-free that he actually manifested it and created it. Not anyone else putting him in a rehab, but him. He authentically decided free will and committed to the decision, and later manifested that in his reality. So basically, the aspect of your Merkaba is the director of your inner boss, your inner hierarchy of your business. It's the part that we fear actually inside of us. You know, on the outside of your boss that kind of scares you into goodness or maybe into badness, however you want to really look at it, because we all have this inner authority. So it's a part of us that actually lays down the law in our consciousness in our arena. And it's the one that's the voice of our personality, the one responsible for actually making or creating decisions, leadership, organization. It's like a director of the movie, the choice and the direction and the scenes, even every final decision that happens within our story is actually made by the director and every member of the cast within our village, right? So every scene that you actually play out, every plot choice, every production that's going on, it's also done by our inner boss. And actually mine can be probably a little bit bitchy as well. And I don't know about yours, but every decision you make or choice you choose, it's the part of us that actually heads for our destination. It's our goal. So it's also the aspect inside of us that feels responsible for actually getting us where we want to go. So if the court system, our court's order inside of us, is the aspect that actually makes the judgment, but it's the boss inside of us, the director, that actually determines if you get the sentencing or not, if you can go on the journey or if you're granted the freedom to go on the journey. So it's the boss is the one who actually holds the final judgment. And our boss represents what our heart interests, or the interests inside of our heart. It's represented by the planet Saturn. It's the Capricorn inside of us. It's the astrology house, the 10th house. So I subscribe this to numerology as well, so you can play with your name if that comes up for you, or just see how that comes up. However, Capricorns, my mom was Capricorn, rules business, and that's what actually they're known for. Leadership, planning, parenting, the dark father. They tend to be the stricter boss in the parenthood, in the household of the home, the car, whatever that looks like, or maybe just the real boss, the leader, the head honcho out in the world. And we all absolutely know what a good boss is, and we all absolutely know what a not so good boss is, right? It's that colder feeling in nature. It's the winter. It's the cold, hard decisions, distancing themselves like way up on the top of the mountain. If you've ever seen mountain goats literally climb the mountain, just way on top in order to make those cold, harsh decisions. So some even have the reputation of being ruthless, like President Nixon was a Capricorn. And honestly, not too many Capricorn presidents, by the way. Most presidents are mostly air signs. But the ruthlessness comes from ignoring the other Merkaba trinities inside of us, not listening to our heart story, or maybe not even having a heart-to-heart conversation with our heart, which is actually something I see as a larger issue than we might think, even just in our energetic system, in our chakras. All of these play together. So basically just having zero interest in what interests the heart, right? The interest zone. So just ignoring our heart space. That's actually when the boss inside of us becomes that dictator. People with control issues have an inner dictator instead of having, besides just an inner heart, an inner boss. So they have a dictator that feels out of control inside of them. So then they become obsessed with this controlling aspect on everyone or everything in the outer world or even on the inside of their own personal village. And the reason why, ironically, is they feel out of control. So they're kind of mismanaging their boss. And the reason they feel out of control is they're out of touch with their inner heart space, their emotions. I always see in The Wizard of Oz, the Tin Man, which is a really huge deal in reality and really. So just not in touch with the first aspects inside of us. The cosmic weird thing is the power of control, when it's literally cut off access, like a tube or a cord or a garden hose, the rest of, if it's cut off access to our soul, the soul story, to the aspect of who we are that actually controls our inner villageness, this is how people literally will get out of control, because the inner authority or the boss inside of them puts up a wall in from the rest of our soul. So the rest of our soul's divided, and we can't control life around us, and we can't control even what life is, and that we attract to that control status. So what you attract, actually, you feel like you need to control it, control what it is. And you be what you be is on the inside of us. So what we be is what comes forward. So if you have this issue, control issues always come from our inner story, our inner world, our inner life, not the outer world so much. So when you feel in control of your inner world, your inner soul, you'll be in control of your outer world. So now control is actually more of a function of creating or making decisions. So when we make a decision authentically from our heart, we actually create an incision, a snip into the conscious waves or the planes of existence. And we can literally snip apart on the timelines a part of us that was actually united and choose one of those two parts. So you might be wondering why. Because it's the same line of what is and what is not. So any decision that we go in one direction or path, the journey, is also a decision to not go on a different direction on the path. So it kind of feels like fate to me. One aspect does the snipping, and it's the other aspect that actually orders it to happen. So it involves choosing between those two paths, those two journeys. Like when you do a meditation and you have paths laid out before you, and you get to pick the path that actually speaks to your heart the most, kind of like a fork in the road or the timeline or a path. Basically, that's kind of how I see it. So you actually have to give up an aspect or something in order to actually make or create the right decision, also for the right thing to happen. So a lot of people just stay stuck and they're worried about what they're going to lose. So it's like, have you ever gone to Las Vegas to gamble with a Capricorn? I know I have. They're more worried about what they're going to lose and not choosing what actually they desire. So they're not getting past the fork in the road. So they're kind of bound up. So what I sense, and most often what I feel, is that something is always sacrificed or passed by if something actually is going to be achieved. So you really can't have the all in every aspect. You can have it all, just not all at once, right? It's baby steps to really have it all, right? In the conscious corridor or in the physical reality. So you go through the sequence and you do it over and over and over again, and over and over and over again. So for every aspect in your village of what you desire, however, you just can't hold up the one creation manifestation, because what will happen is not everything you desire is literally in one manifestation. It actually requires you truly and authentically that you focus on one thing that your true authentic heart wants, and one thing at a time to actually achieve it. People that are focused, really focused, are really, they're really successful people. So your consciousness really can only do one thing at a time and create one thing at once and manifest one thing at once, really, or maybe only one consciousness of one manifestation at a time, because that's how we get discombobbled. Now, manifestation creation is kind of really funny. Usually a manifestation or something that you're trying to create, or not taking one thing or trying to really take one thing or make it into many things. So if you want to take one thing and make a variety of things, you really shouldn't take many things and make it into a bunch of more things. So that's kind of more of the power of control and holding your reins. The power of control actually forces human beings to actually focus. It's like a magnetic force. It's just eliminating one of the choices. So you really end up focusing on the real choice of what your heart authentically wants. Ancient civilizations actually understood this, and I believe a lot of the ancient tribes, the lineages that still live authentically, they really understand the sacrifice that's necessary to create a manifestation. But unfortunately, they believe that they also had to sacrifice ahead of time to receive, which that isn't how it works. In the indigenous civilizations, they understood that sacrificing came at the elder or the boss, the elder of the tribe, after the harvest or the fall, after you receive a divination, say. So we are not expected from God, the universe, the ancestors, the greater spirit, all of this, etc., to make any sacrifices until we have actually received first. So that would be an offering, which is the new moon tomorrow. So to clear it up, in ancient indigenous technologies, you're supposed to throw the sacrifice into the volcano after God, universe, spirit, energy, ancestors bring in the rain. You're not supposed to throw the sacrifice in the volcano to actually make it come the rain. So it's being just grateful authentically from your heart before what you have received that actually kind of brings in more. You have to go to your heart first, not the sacrifice in order to receive. So really, sacrificing in order to receive is actually the work of cosmic evil or evilness in general. It's just really a way of enslaving people to give away before they're actually ready to give away. So we're not meant to share until we are abundant. We aren't meant to be in any sort of tithing giveaway until our harvest has been manifested. So this really is a destiny decision point. It's the deciding factor of our sacrifice, to sacrifice or to not sacrifice, and even what we will or are going to sacrifice or offer. So if the choice is based on our heart, it's really not a sacrifice to our heart, because the heart is letting go of what it doesn't want, releasing in favor of what the heart has the biggest desire for. So quite literally and actually, decisions are really powerful in reality. Very powerful. It's like having your own knob in your control center. So all of these aspects inside of us most often actually will abide by our decisions. The soul takes the decisions out to the lands as law. So if you forgot that you actually made a decision a long time ago, in another lifetime for that matter, the decision will actually play out in your story and manifest what you want in life, manifesting in reality. Obeying and just, it adjusts to all of our inner decisions, following all these guidelines. What does this look like, right? So say I made a decision in my childhood that all men were very dangerous. And then later in life, say my 20s, maybe in my 30s, I would literally law of attract basically dangerous men. And this continues because I've decided in my child aspect, if I decided maybe in high school that life's nothing more than this big fantasy struggle, then I'm actually going to manifest a life where it is indeed nothing more than a struggle. So sometimes, and actually most of the time, we're not even aware of the struggle when or where we actually made these decisions. Again, it might be a different timeline or even a lifetime We're all waking up from the dark ages right now. So that's why just being aware is actually the key to controlling our future. Decisions are like the programmers, like a computer in a way. I see it like more of the matrix, the director or the choreographer of our life story. When we aren't thinking about it, the sum of all of our decisions, the guide or the director, is equal to our soul's inner constitution, the law of the land, your village in my case. So the framework, of a structure of our decisions, it really is equal to the structure of what you're going to manifest in incarnation in this life. So it can be literally a turning point, or it could be a broken record, or a corner of your creation that's created by every decision. So it could be the edge where things do or literally don't go, is actually determined by each of these decisions. And soon enough, what you have is you then have a framework of a system, of an organization. And we also know what one bad decision can really literally bring an entire building down, the towers. The fear of being wrong with one decision literally results in people thinking that the entire building or the business is corrupt. Curious enough, right now, Saturn's in Capricorn, or it was in Capricorn, and even Pluto is in Capricorn at the current moment. Capricorn, it's in the late degrees. It's actually going to aspect the time and the dimension that the U.S. was actually born. So I look at that also as the flying stars in Chinese medicine. But Capricorn is, it's the government, it's the institutions, it's organizations, it's corporations. So it's quite curious how Pluto is tearing down all of these institutions. We're literally waking up from the dark ages. We're entering a new frequency right now. Saturn just moved into Aquarius. But Pluto has been in this aspect for quite a while. So we're literally seeing the tower fall in our government. We obviously need to remove the corruption, but authentically, God Universe will absolutely do that for us. So just a muse that I just wanted to throw in there. Just by reversing decisions, when people see a bad decision and you reverse it and you actually clear it up and make it better, that's how faith is built, and followers. It just builds faith in our reality, our organizations, people. So this is all an aspect of actually being a young Capricorn or a young goat compared to being a wise Capricorn. Hence, this year's podcast season is called the Wisdom Series. I'm going to be launching that next week. So be sure to tune into that. Wisdom is when you learn based on integrity, which actually is huge for me. Everything I do in my village has to do with integrity first. But it's integrity of the decisions. Again, in classic astrology, it's our 10th house of a career and legacy. A person's career and legacy is really the sum of all the professional decisions or aspects in life. People who aren't great at decision making, they often have a hard time deciding or even directing their career. And they'll law of attract people who are usually controlling, or they want you to obey. Hence why I stay single. Obeying is just not in my corridor because my sun sits in that 10th house. And my Saturn is over in relationships. So I'm kind of an authority, more like a warrior in that aspect. So controlling, people try to kind of make decisions for us. It's like being a parent, which is, you do need your parents often when you're younger to make a better decision. But it often does that because as a parent, we're actually control of the decisions for the child, and we're their learning structure. So we kind of control the structure of their growth along with their outcome. We also have some people that have a hard time enforcing decisions, where they make a decision but they don't, or they can't actually follow through with it. So that's kind of a malfunction of the next aspect of our Trinity, which we're going to get to next week. So it's just another aspect inside of us, but it's the important part is the understanding of literally coming to a decision, along with the quality and the quantity of what will come to you in your life journey based on the decision. Now, you might be wondering or pausing, what in the name of the universe goes into a master decision, right? How do you know you've made a better decision from a bad one? Well, it's actually pretty easy, just being aware of the village or the ingredients before the decision literally comes into play. You can frequent the frequency before it even arrives. It's just most people aren't authentically connected. But it's best to have this inner authority, the boss inside of us, kind of conduct a spiritual audit on the decision, doing, dissecting it in a way. So this, of course, has to happen before it lands. So like I said earlier, I kind of really want a new Jeep, or let's say I do, because actually I love the Jeep I have. We have this interconnected bond. But let's just say that I actually want a new one, and I have to authentically decide on the color. And for me, that's a huge decision based on my understanding of my elemental value and the colors and the earth star and the elements. So everything's about balance for me in my inner world and my outer world. And like I said, I really don't need a Jeep, but let's just say that I'm trying to decide if I should manifest one, buy one or not. So the first thing, I just know that when you make a commitment like this, it's kind of a disclaimer that you have to sign in the other world. You really have to get your feelings invested and your openness, the judicial system, not to judge you, inside of you. So it's really not a simple decision, really. It doesn't matter what you're trying to create or manifest or whatever it is you want. It's literally committing and deciding. So where you move forward with the idea or not. So before we even get there, we literally have to create some boundaries. For me, trust issues. I have huge trust issues. So if I don't feel great about the salesman, then I probably am not going to feel great about the financial aspects either. Am I going to feel safe in a new Jeep? Well, duh, right? My life or anyone in my village going to be threatened by the purchase? Some people do get jealous, but that's not on me. That's on them. There's not going to be any vulnerability, right? So I absolutely love Jeeps. So for me, the answer absolutely would be yes. And again, I do 100% love my Jeep, but I also have to 100% love the direction, the flow of the decision, and even the outcome of having one, or how I'm going to feel driving it, which is going to be magical. So how is this decision going to make me feel? Do I believe in Jeeps? Absolutely. Do I believe in the purchase? Sure. Do I believe in the manufacturer? Yes. Do I believe I can make those payments? I'm kind of on the fence, not going to lie. So it's part of the ingredients in our cosmic soup bowl that we're creating the story. So does it belong in my life? My virtues, peace, joy, and happiness, right? Those are my virtues. Does it bring in more of where I belong in it? Do I belong? Does it fit in? Am I out of place, right? Can I see my village in it? My friends, my family, do they belong with me? Or whatever else is important for you. For me, in my heart, obviously it would be Sir Didymus. Does it have all the fine luxury details that I would want? Does it have all the things and all the things that I want? Hopefully that are included. And am I connected energetically to the car? Am I good and open to receive all the special attention that I'm going to get in the new car? Can I receive the maintenance cost? Can I drive this bad boy like a race car and open up to all of this? Do I sense any trouble with the purpose or the purchase from the outer world and my inner seer? Is there a better option out there? A better Jeep, a better Hemi? What does my inner seer telling me? Am I getting any warning signals, any red lights? So energetically, I have to go through all of these phases. I do this with relationships as well. Hence why I stay single. That obey thing just does not work for me. So actually, after tuning into all of these realities, mostly through my heart, I must say, then I would be authentically ready to decide if I did want a new Jeep or not. And I would be ready to commit inside. Just like Robert Downey Jr. to the decision that he made, I might be considering a few options, say. So this is where the path and the fork involves our heart, right? Being on board and super excited about it. Okay? Inshallah and Ashe. Thanks for joining in. Be sure to join me for Change Your Stars how to navigate your intuitive gifts to live your life with purpose. And of course, my podcast, Musing with Tonya D podcast, and my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed or ring the bell, it's at Tonya D. And of course, we always need subscribers, right? What channel do you subscribe to? So this Sunday, we're going to tune back further into the Shamans Portal, the insights, different planes and realities, and a bunch of cool stuff. So with all of that, again, Ashe, my energetic beings, and thanks for joining me.